I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill. And I yield back.
Wow, that's Vicky Hartzler. What bill is she talking about? She's a congressman. Is it like a pro-Nazi bill that like wants to put people in internment camps or what? Something serious must be going on, right? My God. Let me just add a little information. She's a Republican, so that should inform a little bit of expectation about what this bill is actually supposed to do. Would you be surprised to find that this is a bill that codifies interracial and gay marriage? No joke. She is literally crying because a bill was pushed through Congress to codify interracial and gay marriage. Does it get lower than that? Literally crying. Are these real tears? It's so hard to tell. They sound real. She should be in show business because she is one hell of an actress if those aren't real tears. This came out early December 2022. The bill is called the Respect for Marriage Equality Act, I think, or Respect for Marriage Act or something like that. And the reason it's even necessary in the first place is because the Supreme Court has explicitly said that they intend to revisit gay marriage, the gay marriage ruling, the ruling that made gay marriage legal on a federal level. And what's more, Clarence Thomas, one of the Supreme Court justices, said he wanted to revisit the underlying case that made it possible to have gay marriage in the first place. That ruling would, if they examined that ruling again, it would nullify interracial gay marriage, sodomy laws. It would literally make it illegal to just be gay. Not to gay marry, but to be gay. That is what Clarence Thomas, Republican Supreme Court Justice, said he wants to revisit. And that is why it's necessary to try to pass this bill through in the first place. That's why they're doing it. And that's why interracial marriage was included in the bill in the first place. And she's up here crying, literally crying, like the snowflake that she is, because other people's rights are being protected and defended. Let's listen to the whole clip, early December 2022. I only played like 10 seconds of it just now. Just listen to it in its entire context here.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you my priority. Protect religious liberty, protect people of faith, and protect Americans who believe in the true meaning of marriage.
Okay, fine. They're not in danger. There's no need to protect them because they're still perfectly allowed to get married. Does she think that this Respect for Marriage Equality Act, or whatever it's called, is going to force religious people to get married? To gay people? Is she under the misapprehension that religious people across the country are going to have to partner up with a dude like once a month, get married to them and pay child support to them and stuff like that? What does she think is going to happen? Or what's more, does she think that white people and black people getting married is going to be a bad thing or going to be more widespread because it's legally protected through Congress rather than just the Supreme Court? What does she think is going to happen here? How does she believe religious people are going to suffer at the hands of this bill? I do want to point two things out. First of all, a lot of the arguments that the people like this use to try to shut down gay marriage is the idea that if gay marriage is legalized, then some county clerks who are religious would be forced to marry gay people or to issue marriage certificates to them or whatever, which is against their religious beliefs. My only problem with that is, first of all, they're not really doing anything for the gay couple except signing a piece of paper. That's it. They're not forcing them to stand in front of, this couple and give them their religious blessing or something. And second, they're civil servants. They are there to serve the public. If their religious beliefs get in the way of them serving the public as civil servants, they shouldn't be in that job in the first place. That's the first point I wanted to make. That's a piss-poor argument as far as I'm concerned. Not a good reason to take people's rights away. Now, here's the second thing I wanted to mention. This woman obviously has a persecution complex, right? She's religious, and she's trying to frame this up like gay people getting married is hurting her. How could that possibly be the case, I hear you asking? People throughout time, particularly bullies or socially conservative people or people on the far right of the spectrum, honestly, I would say everybody who's trying to take advantage of others, not just on the right. Anybody trying to take advantage of somebody else uses the persecution complex against them. Let me explain how this works. There's a concept in the law that goes like this. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. You're free to swing your fist anywhere you want, except for right here. Because if you swung your fist right here at my nose, it wouldn't be you exercising your rights anymore. It would be a violation of my rights. So the police have the responsibility, the authority to step in and protect my right to not be punched in the face. When the police step in and prevent you from hurting me, it is not a violation of your rights. It's a protection of my rights. Your rights extend up to where mine begin and no further. That's the idea that society was built on. That's the idea that the Constitution was built on, the U.S. Constitution. But people who try to take advantage of others have always used this concept against people. Gay people just want to be allowed to get married. That doesn't affect her in literally any way at all. Doesn't affect anybody in any way. The only person it affects are the two people getting married. That's it. But she is having a breakdown publicly and claiming that her religious rights are being violated. They aren't. Nobody really believed her when she said that. Well, some people did. But people to the left of hunting the homeless for sport did not believe any of that. We saw straight through it. We saw it as the garbage that it was, because that is what they have always done. People who try to take advantage of others, try to flip it around, and play the role of victim, like they're the ones being taken advantage of. They take a swing at you, and when they connect, when they hit you in the face, and the police show up, they start screaming because you hurt their fist with your face. That is a perfect analogy to what is happening right now with her crying because she believes that religious liberty, blah, 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 it's all garbage. It's all nonsense. It always was from the very beginning. By arguing she doesn't want this to pass because of religious liberty, it is effectively her saying, arrest him, officer. He hit my fist with his face.
I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill. And I yield back.
Gentlewoman.
People are literally just trying to get married and live their lives. She has nothing to do with any of it. And she is crying as she is literally persecuting somebody else. She is in the process of persecuting an entire group of people and pretending that she is the victim in this situation. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting in every way. Wasn't just Vicky Hartzler. The entire media, far-right media machine has been behind her on this. Laura Ingraham came out and started talking about it. Late November 2022. She called out the 12 Republicans that sided with Democrats to codify interracial marriage and gay marriage. That's where we're at right now. The right-wing media machine came out against people who voted for interracial and gay marriage. No joke.
Now, we saw this dynamic play out yesterday when 12 Republican senators, all the usual suspects, voted for the...
All the usual suspects. Because they're rhinos, right? They're on the left secretly. All these people who voted with Trump, 90% of the time on various things. They're the usual suspects. These people who want interracial marriage codified and gay marriage. Jesus Christ, dude.
Play out yesterday when 12 Republican senators, all the usual suspects, voted for the deceptively titled Respect for Marriage Act. While purporting to safeguard marital rights of same-sex couples, the law will actually end up gutting the religious liberty rights across the country. Social conservatives, of course, are insulted, yet they're not really surprised.
This literally does not affect religious rights in any way. No way whatsoever. The only argument that they have is that there may be a civil servant who has to sign a piece of paper that they don't want to sign because they don't like that gay people are allowed to get married. That's it. That's the only argument. And I'm sorry, if you don't like that, don't be a civil servant. That's your job. If you can't handle treating everybody equally, get the out. I don't care what excuse you have or what religion you are. Don't care. People should be treated equally in society. I don't care what your opinions are on that. If you can't agree, everybody should be treated equally in society. You shouldn't be a civil servant anyway, as far as I'm concerned. But they're going to continue to scream that the person that they're punching in the face is hurting their fist. Of course, that's the tactic. That's been the tactic for years now. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video. This is Jenna Ellis. She came out against the bill too, surprisingly, right? Former member of the Trump legal team, professor of legal studies at Colorado Christian University. Previously, these are all previous occupations. Deputy district attorney in Weld County, Colorado. So eventually her last position, I believe, was a member of the Trump legal team. I think she's just a public figure now. I don't think she does any of those things anymore. But naturally, she came out with an opinion on this subject. Check this out.
This was the exact thing that was at issue in the Obergefell case when 30 plus states had amendments to their state constitutions that said that they would only recognize marriage as between one man and one woman.
Right. So what she's saying here, God, this is kind of a legally complicated area that we're dealing with here. The Respect for Marriage Act, the thing that just passed, isn't even codifying gay marriage. It isn't even giving people the ability to get married. It's just saying whether you are in a state that respects gay marriage or not, whether you're in a state that legally has gay marriage or not, that state is legally required to recognize gay marriage or your gay marriage. They are legally required to accept your marriage as equally as valid legally as every other marriage out there. Basically, if you go to a hospital with your husband because your husband is in a serious car accident, he's completely incapacitated, has no idea what's going on, he's in a coma, say. The hospital is legally required, or the hospital will give you the ability to make decisions for his life. The hospital will allow you to, or they'll listen to your opinions on what should happen next, or you can be in the back room with him, only married couples. You are considered immediate family. You can be covered under the same insurance plan, things like that. Only for legal purposes. That's really what this bill is for. States were trying to push through bills that made it so that you weren't recognized as a married couple in their state, whether you're married or not. This bill isn't even telling states to allow people to get married. States can still reject gay marriage. Nobody's required to do anything legally as a result of this bill. States just can't reject the recognition that you're married now. That's it. It's the most basic, milquetoast, bottom of the barrel thing that you could possibly do. And people are literally crying over it. Literally crying. Who is the snowflake now? Anyway, let's go back to Jenna Ellis. Again, she was a lawyer, so she's going to be using like legal language for a lot of her explanation. I wanted to break it down.
As between one man and one woman. The federal government, in terms of the Supreme Court, has no ability to impose their unilateral belief on everyone.
Okay, interesting point. So I think, 10 years ago or something like that, gay marriage was federally legalized by the Supreme Court. They basically said states are not allowed to ban people from getting married if they're gay. That's illegal. She's saying that the Supreme Court had no right to protect somebody's rights like that. Hundreds of years of legal precedent simply disagree, madam. Rights are upheld by the Supreme Court all the time. That is what the Supreme Court does. That's what it's done since the very beginning. The Supreme Court decides if the Constitution supports this right or rejects that right or whatever other thing. And the Supreme Court decided gay marriage is a right under the law. People are allowed to be treated equally under the law. And it's unconstitutional to remove this right from people, basically. She's saying they're pushing an agenda or a belief on everybody. Nobody requires you to believe gay people should be allowed to get married. Nobody has ever required that. All they require of you is for you to do your job. Sign the certificates if that's the position you're in. That's it. You want to not believe in gay marriage on your off time? Fine. I don't care. Don't believe in gay marriage on your off time. When you're on the clock for the people of the country, you have a requirement to sign the marriage certificate. Simple as that. If you're incapable of doing it, get out of the job.
Belief on everyone. They can't say, states, you have to recognize a same-sex marriage.
Yes, they can. And they did. I don't know what kind of a weird legal argument she's trying to make here, but they said this exact thing about interracial marriage. You cannot tell somebody they can't get married because they are black and the other one is white. You can't do that. That's illegal. That is unconstitutional. The Supreme Court decided that. She was the deputy district attorney in Weld County, Colorado. She can't possibly not know this is how it works, right?
Just like the Congress cannot legislate this issue. The Respect for Marriage Act is unconstitutional on its face. The states have to determine for themselves what types of marriages the state will sanction. Now, obviously...
Okay, fine. Yeah, exactly. The Respect for Marriage Act doesn't try to change that, unfortunately. It should. It should codify gay marriage and interracial marriage. But from my understanding, the Respect for Marriage Act just makes it so that all states recognize gay marriage that's happened in another state. They're not required to perform gay marriages or enter those gay marriages into their database or anything. They are only required to recognize it when it was done somewhere else, at the very least. She's already twisting it around and out of proportion into something completely different.
You just heard me a few minutes ago say that this is the province solely of the church. I really wish that states would get out of the business of licensing marriage altogether. Now, of course, we're going...
Wow, that interesting. Okay. And who would license marriages, I hear you asking? The church, of course. If you want to get married, the church has to do it, in her eyes. If you want to be married, you have to do it with the church. And of course, it doesn't stop there with Jenna Ellis personally. Jenna Ellis specifically also wants to see all kinds of insane, unhinged stuff in the country, like laws against adultery. I mean, she's a full-blown theocrat. She wants a theocracy in this country, naturally. So she wants to see all the rules that fundamentalist Christians believe in, or all the rules that she believes are in the Bible, even if they aren't. You know, like, for example, laws against getting abortions, even though the Bible explicitly endorses abortion and at no point ever condemns abortion. She wants to see all the laws that she was told when she was little are in the Bible, even if they aren't.
Marriage altogether. Now, of course, we're going to have some domestic relations adjudications in terms of child custody battles, split of assets, other things.
Because people are screw-ups, right? And they can't just follow the Bible the way that it's written. So we have to have something to adjudicate that because people are sinners and failures, right, in her eyes. Jesus Christ, dude.
But in terms of solemnizing or dissolving a marriage, that should not be up to the state in any way, shape, or form. You can still have power of attorney, right of survivorship. I don't even care if one person who is not even married at all designates one other person under the law as having right of survivorship.
Okay, so why doesn't she just get married in her church? She doesn't have to go through the state if this is how she feels, right? Why doesn't she just skip the whole state piece and go straight to the church and forget everything else? Why does it matter? If it's a marriage in God's eyes, let it be a marriage in God's eyes. And by the by, what are non-religious people supposed to do? What is an atheist supposed to do? How is an atheist supposed to get married? They're not, in her eyes, apparently. I don't know how else to interpret this.
And says, hey, you're my person. That's fine. That's not a marriage. That's simply allowing assets to pass without a ton of death taxes and so forth. That's totally fine with me. That is not inconsistent with a biblical tradition.
Oh, I see. So what she's saying now is people should be able to set up a system that where they get all of the same benefits from a marriage that they would if they were married, except it's outside of a marriage. There's a term for it. Wait a second. It's separate but equal. That sounds right, doesn't it? Separate but equal. I think that's right.
And with a biblical doctrine.
If you're unfamiliar with that term, that's actually from like white supremacists and white separatists back in the 1960s when segregation was coming to an end. People kept saying that we should be separate but equal. We should separate black people into their own black schools and black and white water fountains, black and white bathrooms, so on and so forth. That's what she's proposing here. She's just proposing it for gay marriage. That's what a civil union is. It's a separate but equal type of situation. You can have this type of marriage over here. We're going to reserve this marriage for real human beings who really deserve to be married.
And with a biblical doctrine. What is inconsistent with biblical doctrine is solemnizing something that is not a marriage. So I am very hopeful that if the Democrats are this stupid, and Republicans too, frankly, which I'm disappointed in both sides, for going along with this whole LGBTQ nonsense and this whole agenda with this so-called Respect for Marriage Act.
Honestly, why does she hate it so much? It just makes it so that interracial couples can get married. And so gay people's marriages are recognized from state to state if they get married in a state where it is legal. That's it. That's all this does, honestly. Why is she so upset about this? You know why, really? It's because they're mixing religion and politics together until they're indistinguishable from each other. That's really the root of the problem here. If religion and politics were not mixing to this degree, this wouldn't even be a discussion. Nobody would care. If religion wasn't involved in this situation at all, nobody would care if gay people got married. Doesn't affect you at all. This is Steve Deese. If you're unfamiliar with him, he is a host on The Blaze, which is a TV network that I think Dave Rubin is on, or was at the very least. Another guy famously named Elijah Schaefer was on it. He's the dude that just lost his mind a while back and said, people to the left of hunting the homeless for sport should not be voting. Glenn Beck started it. This is his network. So anyway, that's what The Blaze is. And again, this is Steve Deese, the Steve Deese Show. So let's see what he had to say about the Respect for Marriage Act. Simply gay people having their marriages recognized in every state, regardless of if they accept or allow gay marriage or not. That's all it is. Let's see about the fear-mongering tactics he uses to scream about gay people and interracial marriage. Mid-November 2022.
This isn't real to them. Now, one day they will find out that hell is. This is the stuff of Nero. And if we're going to sit here and talk spiritual implications and manifestations about when the spirit of the age manifests itself on that team, you obviously...
Dude, I have no idea what he's going on about right now. It sounds like religious nonsense that he's just spouting off and he's assuming that his audience knows, but I'm completely lost, dude. I'm sorry. I am neck deep in this stuff 24/7, okay? I am really involved in watching people like Steve Deese and Jenna Ellis and all of these other people every day of my life because this is my job. This is what I do. I listen to these people. And what he's saying right now is nonsense to me. How is it that somebody is so immersed in this world as I am, and I am completely lost? It's like the words that he's saying right now go next to each other technically, but they don't mean anything when they're next to each other. Let's listen to that one more time.
Implications and manifestations about when the spirit of the age manifests itself on that team, you obviously need to know if you come to this show. I'm sure as hell going to do it when it happens on the other one.
I have no idea what he just said. It makes no sense whatsoever. But okay, keep listening because he has some things to say about the Respect for Marriage Act. Oh, there's a big long pause here. I'm assuming that means he's about to get really dramatic. Oh boy. Buckle up, people.
This is the stuff of Nero. Now, Nero in our system of government could not put Christians on stakes, light them on fire to illuminate his orgies. He doesn't have the power to manifest something like that. But here's what Nero will do. Lawfare from the federal government of the United States of America will now be declared upon the Church of Jesus Christ.
Okay. So I think he's saying, when he says lawfare, that's a common far-right word they use when they want to feel like they're persecuted. They're punching someone in the face and they want to pretend that they're the ones being injured. You know, he's hurting my fist with his face all over again. What was that last thing he said?
Of the United States of America will now be declared upon the Church of Jesus Christ.
Right. The Church of Jesus Christ is suffering because gay people are, and of course black and white people, are allowed to get married to each other now. The Church of Jesus Christ is suffering because other people have rights. Other people who may or may not even be involved in the Church of Jesus Christ are allowed to live their lives and do what they want. They live in a fantasy land. How did they get to where they are? It just blows me away, dude.
The United States government is about to declare itself at war with the kingdom of God, openly.
No, they're just giving people rights. That's it.
On a federal level. No longer just a few blue states like Oregon that want to go after Sweet Cakes by Melissa, or Washington that want to go after Barronelle Stutzman, or a few crazies in Denver, Colorado, and their rainbow jihad that want to go after poor Jack. No, on a systemic level, the United States of America is going to declare war on the church with this legislation. That's its intent.
Did he say the rainbow jihad? Does he have any idea what a jihad is and how deeply ugly and horrific the things that took place were? Does he think that the left is full of, like, terrorists that are enacting, like, you know, that are doing actual full-blown terrorist acts on the right? Yes, he does. As a matter of fact, he absolutely does believe that. He lives in a fantasy land, and he is not the only one. We had a bill that made it so that states would recognize, or that they were legally required to recognize a marriage if it was legally held in a different state. That's it. If there is a state that allows interracial marriage, every state has to at least give the benefits to that married couple if they did get married. That's it. That's what the bill does. Doesn't force states to marry people. It doesn't force religious people to marry gay people or black or white or Asian people or whatever. It doesn't force any of that. It just means they get the same benefits as everybody else. They're treated equally. That's it. And they are melting down over this. Melting down. I don't know how else to put it when they are literally saying that people are terrorists for doing this. When they are literally crying because this bill is passing, because people are being treated a little more equally to everybody else. Not even fully equal. If that were the case, they would be allowed to get married in every single state. Just a little more equal.
I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill. And I yield back.
Literally crying because people are being treated a little more equally than they were yesterday. How is this distinguishable from full-blown delusion? One is caused by a brain state that presumably can't be corrected without medicine. The other is caused by brainwashing that presumably cannot be fixed by medicine. But they are indistinguishable from each other. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.